12 vehicles, 2:36 a.m., one synchronized exit through a desert blind spot. In the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie from her home in the Catalina foothills, the FBI has just abandoned the primary crime scene for a new command center in Phoenix. To the public, it looks like a retreat. To those inside the wire, it looks like the final stage of a lethal psychological trap. Antonio Pina Campos is in custody. Tommaso, Cheion, and Dominic are under the microscope. And the digital trail of a $6 million Bitcoin ransom is beginning to bleed. The question isn't whether Nancy was taken. The question is why they're still watching her house. The facts of the Guthrie case are as clinical as they are chilling. On February 1, 2026, Nancy Guthrie vanished from her residence. There was no struggle reported by neighbors, no alarms triggered until it was too late. What we have is a timeline built on fragments. A Nest camera at 2:12 a.m., a pacemaker sync that terminated 8 minutes later, and a forensic void that has baffled the Pima County Sheriff's Department for weeks. Investigators are now pivoting. The shift to Phoenix signifies a change in jurisdiction and scale. They are no longer looking for a local kidnapper. They are dismantling a cell. We know the primary entities: Antonio Pina Campos, a 34-year-old man caught in a pattern of behavior that defies coincidence. We have the names Tommaso Cheion and Dominic, a duo with a 19-year history that the FBI is currently deconstructing. But the foundation of this entire case rests on a single piece of overlooked footage from North Camino Real. It is a route that avoids every major police interceptor and traffic camera in the district. And at 2:36 a.m., it became the busiest road in Arizona. The homeowners on North Camino Real, Elias and Danielle Stratagulius, were not initially visited by the FBI. It was only after a street-facing Ring camera revealed the 2:36 a.m. car fleet that the geography of the crime changed. 12 vehicles were captured moving in a tight, disciplined convoy. This occurred exactly 8 minutes after Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker last synced with her iPhone. Consider the logistics. To move 12 vehicles in silence through a residential back road requires more than luck. It requires a rehearsal. While some initial assessments suggested this fleet might be a statistical anomaly, the FBI's interest suggests otherwise. If these were professional operatives utilizing handheld radios rather than cellular devices, they would be invisible to standard geofencing warrants. They weren't just driving, they were ghosting. Why choose North Camino Real? Because it is a tactical corridor. It leads directly away from the 2-mile search radius that cordoned off the Guthrie residence within the first hour. The kidnappers didn't just know the house, they knew the response map. But the fleet is only the how. The who began to emerge 20 minutes prior to the abduction. At 1:52 a.m., 5 miles away from the Guthrie home, a different camera captured a breach. A man wearing a distinctive backpack with reflective stripes was seen attempting to force a residential gate. He struggled for 60 seconds. He failed. He vanished. 20 minutes later, a man with an identical reflective backpack appeared on Nancy Guthrie's porch. Was the 1:52 a.m. incident a failed dry run? Or was it a deliberate attempt to see how quickly local security would respond to a perimeter breach? The FBI is now treating this figure as the primary physical operative. The movement is precise, the gear is specific, and the backpack, that singular reflective signature, connects a failed trespass to a successful kidnapping. But there is a third fragment, a rugged, isolated stretch of desert road where a figure was captured dragging a heavy object through the sand. If the car fleet was the extraction, this trail may have been the transfer point. The timeline is now locked. 1:52 a.m., the gate breach. 2:12 a.m., the Nest appearance. 2:36 a.m., the high-speed exit. It is a military-grade schedule. But as investigators began to widen their search, they discovered that the most dangerous man in this case wasn't just there on the night of the crime. He had been there all along. 8 days before Nancy disappeared, a man with a very specific physical trait was caught scouting the exact same perimeter, and he wasn't wearing a mask. The footage from 8 days prior, recorded 6.5 miles from Nancy's home, shows a man skulking near a front porch. Authorities have confirmed a chilling physical match, a distinctive goatee and mustache. For 8 days, this individual was learning the rhythm of the neighborhood. He was testing the vulnerabilities of cameras and the sleep cycles of the residents. This was not a crime of opportunity. It was a slow-burn stalking operation. When we analyze the masked intruder from the night of the abduction, a specific detail emerges. He is wearing a belly band holster over his jacket. It is an amateurish way to carry a weapon, yet it is a highly specific signature. When you combine the goatee seen in the unmasked footage with the reflective backpack from the gate breach and the belly band holster from the crime scene, the profile narrows to a single operative. But a lone operative cannot manage a 12-car extraction fleet. Enter Antonio Pina Campos. Campos, 34, was recently taken into custody. While the official charges were related to a DUI and trespassing, the investigative reality is far more complex. Sources indicate that Campos had circled the perimeter of the active investigation over 100 times in the weeks following the disappearance. When police seized his phone, they found what is being described as a smoking gun. Photos of Nancy Guthrie. Why would a man be obsessed with a crime scene he had no official connection to? In professional extraction teams, a spotter is often sent back to the site of the crime to monitor law enforcement activity and identify what evidence may have been missed. Antonio Pina Campos wasn't just a bystander. He was a witness to the investigation itself. The FBI's move to Phoenix now makes perfect sense. They have moved the nerve center away from the spotters. They are creating a vacuum, waiting to see who steps into it. They are no longer looking for Nancy in the bushes of Tucson. They are looking for the digital and physical fingerprints of a professional cell that left a trail across the desert. The case was moving toward a stalemate. The DNA samples at the scene were mixed, the car fleet had vanished, and the suspects were silent. Until investigators recovered a single discarded item 1.5 miles from the Guthrie home. It was a glove, a direct match to the ones worn by the masked intruder. But when they ran the DNA through the national database, the result was a total void. This meant their suspect wasn't a criminal. He was a ghost, until the FBI decided to stop looking for him and started looking for his family. With no matches in the CODIS database, the FBI has pivoted to investigative genetic genealogy. This is the same high-tier forensic technology used to identify the Golden State Killer. They are currently cross-referencing the DNA found on that glove with public ancestry databases. They aren't looking for the kidnapper anymore. They are looking for his third cousin, his aunt, or a distant relative to construct a family tree that ends at a front door. Sources close to the lab suggest they are weeks, perhaps days, away from a definitive name. While the science matures, the investigation into the architect has intensified. The focus has shifted to the 19-year brotherhood between Tommaso Cheion and Dominic Evans. This relationship was forged in the underground music scene of early Black, a history that investigators are now treating as a criminal playbook. Dominic Evans fits the physical profile of the operative to a disturbing degree. His record involves burglary and robbery, the specific skill set required to bypass a perimeter gate and secure a target in under 60 seconds. If Evans was the muscle, Cheion is being looked at as the intelligence. As a family connection, he possessed the internal knowledge of the house layout and security blind spots. Then there is the ransom, $6 million in Bitcoin. The wallet remains empty, but the digital footprint of the demand letters is active. A secondary figure has emerged in the shadows of the blockchain, someone claiming to know the kidnappers, asking for a smaller hush money payment of 1 Bitcoin to remain silent. Is this a fourth member of the team experiencing a crisis of conscience? Or is it a calculated distraction designed by the architect to lead the FBI into a digital cul-de-sac? The tension is not just within the investigation, it is within the Guthrie family. Savannah Guthrie has not yet returned to her role on the Today Show. NBC has granted her indefinite leave, but the silence from the family is telling. Savannah has recently admitted that it would take a miracle to find her mother alive. This is a family that has moved from hope to a desperate search for closure. The FBI's shift to Phoenix is a strategic masterstroke in the world of psychological operations. By moving the command center, they are signaling a cool down to the suspects. They want Cheion, Evans, and their associates to believe the immediate pressure has dissipated. In the world of professional crime, the most dangerous moment is the moment you think you've won. The legal stakes are absolute. A conviction for kidnapping resulting in a death or involving a coordinated cell carries a minimum of life without parole, frequently escalating to the death penalty in federal cases. The FBI is not just building a case for an arrest, they are building a case for a terminal sentence. This is why they have finally released the Guthrie home. For nearly a month, the residence was a frozen crime scene. Every fiber, every fingerprint, and every drop of moisture was analyzed. The release of the home suggests that the forensic phase of the search is over. They have what they need. Now they are waiting for a match. The DNA on the discarded glove is the pivot point. If that genetic genealogy search returns a name that matches Dominic Evans or a known associate of Tommaso Cheion, the trap snaps shut. The FBI is currently operating under a sealed status regarding these matches, meaning we may not know the results until the warrants are served. The investigation has reached its most volatile hour. The $1.2 million reward, now increased by Savannah's personal pleas, is sitting as a massive incentive for someone in that shadow team to break. The next concrete event is the procedural deadline for the evidence recovered from Antonio Pina Campos's devices. Those files are currently being decrypted by the FBI's Cybercrime Division. What those photos of Nancy Guthrie represent, whether they were taken before, during, or after the abduction, will determine the final charges for the entire cell. We are also watching the Bitcoin wallet. Every time that digital address is pinged, the FBI's Regional Computer Forensics Lab in Phoenix maps the origin. The kidnappers are trapped in a state of digital paralysis. If they touch the money, they are found. If they don't, the entire operation was for nothing. Savannah Guthrie's admission that her mother may already be dancing in heaven has shifted the public's focus from a rescue to a pursuit of justice. The miracle they are praying for now isn't just Nancy's return, it's the one piece of evidence that the architect forgot to scrub. The hearing for Antonio Pina Campos's secondary charges is approaching. That courtroom will be the first time we see the FBI's hand in public. 2 motions are expected to be filed. One could involve the formal linking of the 1:52 a.m. gate breach to the primary suspect. The other? A revelation regarding the third party asking for hush money. The truth is, somewhere in the Arizona desert, moving between the reflective backpack at the gate and the 12-car fleet on North Camino Real, the FBI is in Phoenix. The trap is set, and someone somewhere is realizing they didn't get away with it. We will see what happens when that courtroom opens. The investigation continues.